I drove my husband's car to a hotel to meet my lover. My husband was waiting in the parking lot. I told him it was a business trip. I booked a room in the next town over. We were 10 minutes into our moment when my phone rang. My husband didn't scream. He just asked me to look out the window. There is a specific kind of silence that happens right before your life explodes. It's not a peaceful silence. It's the sound of a fuse burning down, a low hiss that you ignore because you're too busy listening to the beating of your own treacherous heart. I lived in that silence for 6 months. I thought I was walking on air, floating above the rules that apply to everyone else. I didn't realize I was actually walking the plank. My name is Lara Bennett, short for Laravel, a name my eccentric parents gave me, and I destroyed my marriage, my career, and my dignity for a man who, in the end, didn't even care enough to help me up off the ground. I have been married to Tristan Bennett for 5 years. Tristan is a good man. That's the boring, devastating truth that haunts me now. He is 32, a logistics manager for a shipping firm. He is kind, he is hardworking, and he loves me with a quiet, steady devotion that I foolishly mistook for apathy. Tristan isn't exciting. He doesn't send racy texts in the middle of the workday. He doesn't pull me into supply closets. He pays the mortgage, he remembers my mother's birthday, and he warms up my car in the winter before I even wake up. He expressed his love in acts of service. He expressed it in safety. But I stopped seeing the love in those actions. I started taking them for granted. I looked at his reliability and I called it stagnation. I started craving the spark. And the spark came in the form of Randy Sullivan. Randy was a co-worker at the marketing agency where I worked. He was 32, recently single, or so he claimed, charming, and dangerous. Randy was everything Tristan wasn't. He was loud. He was spontaneous. He was a wolf in the corporate world, a top salesman who wore expensive suits and drove a leased sports car he couldn't afford. It started innocently enough, the classic slippery slope that every cheater swears wasn't a slope until they hit the bottom. We were work spouses. We grabbed lunch. We vented about our bosses. Then, the text started. Late at night. I wish I was coming home to you instead of an empty apartment. Tristan is a lucky man, but I don't think he knows what he has. I let the compliments seep into my veins like a drug. I didn't stop him. I encouraged him. For months, it was purely emotional. We danced on the line, but we didn't cross it. I told myself I was still a good wife because I hadn't slept with him. I clung to that technicality like a life raft. I haven't touched him, I would tell myself while deleting Randy's texts in the bathroom. It's just harmless flirting. It makes me feel alive. But emotional affairs are just physical affairs waiting for a calendar invite. 2 weeks ago, we decided to cross the line. It was Labor Day weekend. A long weekend. Randy suggested we meet up. Let's just go away, he whispered by the coffee machine, his breath smelling of expensive espresso. Just for one night. Just to see what this, electricity, really feels like. I booked a room at the Marriott in the next town over. I agreed. My heart hammered in my chest, not from guilt, but from adrenaline. I went home and told Tristan I had a mandatory business conference. It's bad timing, I know, I lied, looking him right in the eye while he was chopping vegetables for our dinner. But it's great for my career. It's a networking summit. I have to go. Tristan didn't question me. He never questioned me. He trusted me implicitly. I'm proud of you, Lara, he said, kissing my forehead. You've been working so hard. You deserve the recognition. Then came the logistical issue. My sedan had been making a rattling noise for weeks. Take my car, Tristan insisted. Take the SUV. It's safer on the highway. I just got the brakes done and put new tires on it. I don't want you driving that hour in a car that might break down. He handed me the keys to his prized possession, his black luxury SUV. He even reminded me about the safety feature he had installed 6 months ago, after my sedan broke down on the freeway and I was stranded for 2 hours. "Remember, the GPS is active," he said, smiling. "So if you get a flat tire or anything happens, I can see exactly where you are and come get you. It's for your safety." He gave me the tool of my own destruction, wrapped in an act of love. The guilt should have stopped me then. It should have paralyzed me. It didn't. I just took the keys and thanked him. The rendezvous. I arrived at the hotel, a nice Marriott with a fountain in the lobby, at 11 a.m. on Friday. Randy was already there, waiting in the parking lot in his flashy red convertible. Since check-in wasn't until noon, we sat in his car for an hour. We talked. We held hands. The tension was thick, electric, suffocating. I felt alive. I felt desired. I wasn't Tristan's wife or the project manager. I was Laura, the desirable woman who was worth risking everything for. At 12 p.m. sharp, my phone buzzed with the notification that our room 412, was ready. We checked in. We tried to look casual walking through the lobby, acting like business colleagues, but I felt like everyone knew. I felt like the concierge could see the scarlet letter burning on my chest. We got to the room. The door clicked shut behind us, locking out the world. We didn't wait. Our luggage was still by the door. Randy pulled me toward the bed. We started kissing. It was frantic. Hands roaming, clothes being unbuttoned. It was happening. The moment I had fantasized about for 6 months. We were about 10 minutes into it. My blouse was unbuttoned, hanging off my shoulders. Randy's shirt was on the floor. We were intimate, heavy with desire, but we hadn't actually had sex yet. I remember thinking, in a twisted way, that I still had a shred of innocence left. Then, a sound cut through the room like a knife. Ring, ring, ring. It was my phone. I had left it on the nightstand and forgotten to silence it in my haste. I froze. Randy groaned, burying his face in my neck. "Ignore it," he whispered. "Let it go to voicemail." I reached over to mute it, but I saw the caller ID. Tristan. Panic, cold and sharp, flooded my chest. I didn't want to answer. But what if it was an emergency? What if he was hurt? What if something happened to the house? On the third ring, I picked up. "Hello?" I answered, my voice breathless, panting slightly. I tried to sound like I had been running to catch the phone. "Hey, honey," Tristan's voice was calm. Terrifyingly calm. "Tristan? Is everything okay?" I'm just settling into the conference room. The keynote speaker is about to start." There was a pause. A long, heavy silence that stretched for eternity. "Lara," he said. "Stop." "Stop what?" "Stop lying. I know where you are." My heart hammered against my ribs so hard I thought it would crack them. "What do you mean?" "I'm at the convention center." "No, you're not," Tristan said. "You're at the Marriott. Room 412. I tracked the car, Lara. You took my SUV. Did you forget I installed the safety GPS for you last winter? It updates to my phone every 5 minutes." I looked at Randy. He was watching me, confused, his shirt half open. "Tristan, I'm in the parking lot," Tristan interrupted. "I'm standing next to the SUV. Come downstairs, Lara." "Tristan, please, I can explain." "Come. Downstairs. Now." He hung up. The dial tone sounded like a flatline. I stared at the phone. I started shaking uncontrollably. "What's wrong?" Randy asked, sitting up. "He's here," I whispered. "He's outside. He knows." I scrambled to fix my clothes. My hands were trembling so hard I couldn't button my blouse properly. I left the top 2 buttons undone because my fingers wouldn't work. I have to go down there, I said. Don't go, Randy said, looking annoyed rather than worried. He can't do anything. Just stay here. It's my husband, Randy. He's downstairs. I ran out of the room. I took the elevator down, my reflection in the mirror doors mocking me. I looked disheveled. I looked guilty. I looked exactly like what I was. I walked out of the heavy glass doors and into the bright, blinding sunlight of the parking lot. And there he was. Tristan was leaning against the passenger door of his black SUV. He was wearing his weekend clothes, jeans and a gray t-shirt. He looked so normal. But he was wearing sunglasses. As I got closer, he took them off. His eyes were red. Swollen. He had been crying. I had never seen Tristan cry. Not when his father died. Not when we lost our first house bed. He was the rock. He was crying now. Tristan, I choked out, reaching for him. He stepped back. He held up a hand. Don't, he said. His voice cracked, high and broken. Do not touch me. Tristan, let me explain. It's not what you think. We didn't do it. We were just talking. We haven't had sex. I swear. I was clinging to that technicality. We didn't go all the way. I thought that would save me. Tristan looked at me with a look of pure pity. Do you think that matters? He asked softly. Do you think the geography of your betrayal matters to me? You were in a hotel room with another man on our anniversary weekend. It's not our anniversary. I started, confused. It's the weekend I was going to surprise you, he said, pulling a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket. I booked us a trip to Italy. The Amalfi Coast. We were supposed to leave tomorrow. I was going to give it to you tonight when you got home. He dropped the paper on the pavement. It fluttered near my feet. Flight confirmation, 2 passengers. Tristan and Lara Bennett. My stomach turned to leave. Then, he reached into the car and pulled out a thick manila envelope. Here, he said, shoving it into my chest. What is this? Divorce papers, he said. I had them drafted this morning when I saw the GPS ping at the hotel. I called my lawyer. He was very efficient. Divorce? Tristan, no. Please. It was a mistake. Nothing happened. We just kissed. Look at me, Lara, he said, tears streaming down his face again. This is the last time you will ever see me cry. I am done. You are free. You wanted him? You have him. But you don't have me. You don't have my house. And you certainly don't have my respect. I was sobbing now, incoherent, begging him to stop, trying to grab his hand. Then, I heard footsteps behind me. It was Randy. He had come downstairs. He walked up beside me, puffing his chest out, trying to look intimidating. Is there a problem here? Randy asked, putting a hand on my shoulder. Tristan looked at Randy. He didn't look angry. He looked disgusted. Like he was looking at something he stepped in. No problem, Tristan said. She's all yours, Randy. I hope she's worth it. By the way, I sent the GPS logs and the photos of you two entering the hotel to your wife. Her name is Maria, right? I found her on Facebook. She should be getting the message right about now. Randy's face went pale. The tough guy act vanished instantly. You told Maria? Randy stammered. I figured she deserved to know where her husband spends his Labor Day weekend, Tristan said coldly. Tristan turned back to me. Sign the papers, Lara. Send them to my lawyer. Please give me the decency of staying somewhere else while we process this. I don't want to see you in my house. He walked around to the driver's side of the SUV and opened the door. Wait. I screamed, panic setting in. How am I supposed to get home? My car is at the house. You have my keys. Tristan paused, one hand on the doorframe of the SUV. He looked at me, and for a moment, I saw the logistics manager, the man who plans for every contingency. He pointed a finger toward the spot right next to us. I drove your car here, he said calmly. I looked over. Parked 2 spots away was my sedan. My beat-up, rattling sedan. I drove your car down here to swap them, Tristan said, his voice void of emotion. The keys are under the floor mat. It's got a quarter tank of gas. That should be enough to get you to your parents' house. The realization hit me harder than the divorce papers. He hadn't just come to catch me. He had come to execute a transfer. He had driven my unreliable, rattling car all the way to this hotel, risking a breakdown, just so he could take back the one thing that was legally his safety, his reliability, his SUV. He made sure I wasn't stranded, but he also made sure I wasn't coming home with him. He got into his luxury SUV, the safe, reliable car he had lent me out of love, and started the engine. He drove away without looking back. I stood there in the parking lot, holding the divorce papers, staring at my broken-down car. I turned to Randy, looking for comfort. Looking for the spark that was supposed to make this all worth it. Randy was staring at his phone, frantically trying to call his wife. He looked at me with pure annoyance. You dragged me into this, he spat. My wife is going to kill me. Why didn't you tell me he had a tracker? Then he looked me up and down. He saw my unbuttoned blouse. He saw my desperation. Well, he said, a gross, leering look entering his eyes. We already paid for the room. We might as well go back up and finish what we started. Since everything is blown up anyway. Let's not waste the money. I stared at him. The realization hit me like a physical blow. He didn't love me. He didn't want a future with me. He just wanted the sex. Even now, amidst the wreckage of 2 marriages, he just wanted to finish. You're disgusting, I whispered. I'm realistic, he sneered. Are you coming or not? I walked away. I walked over to my rattling sedan, retrieved the keys from under the mat, and drove away alone. The walk of shame, coming home to parents. The drive home was a 40-minute blur of nausea and regret. The car rattled the whole way, a constant reminder of the safety I had traded away. When I got to my parents' house, because I couldn't go home, I had to face the second wave of shame. I didn't have a key. I had to ring the doorbell like a guest. My mother opened the door. She is a woman who prides herself on appearances. Her hair was perfectly set, she was wearing an apron over her dress. She smiled when she saw me, thinking it was a surprise visit. Then she saw the divorce papers in my hand. She saw my tear-streaked mascara. She saw the unbuttoned blouse I had hastily tried to fix. Lara, she asked, her smile faltering. Where is Tristan? I couldn't lie anymore. I collapsed into her arms right there on the porch. He left me, Mom. He knows. The next hour was the most humiliating of my life. We sat in the living room, me, my mom, and my dad. My father sat in his armchair, staring at the floor. He refused to look at me. You cheated on Tristan? My dad asked, his voice low. Tristan? The man who spent 3 weekends helping me build that deck? The man who treats you like a queen? It was a mistake, Dad, I sobbed. We didn't even have sex. We just kissed. My dad stood up. He looked at me with a disappointment so deep it felt like physical pain. You think that matters? He said, echoing Tristan's words. You broke his trust. You broke his heart. I raised you better than this, Lara. I raised you to have integrity. He walked out of the room. He didn't come down for dinner. The pick-me phase. The next day was Saturday. I woke up in my twin bed, filled with a desperate delusion. I convinced myself I could fix it. I entered the pick-me phase, that pathetic stage where you think sheer effort can undo betrayal. I knew Tristan wouldn't have changed the locks yet, he was too busy hurting. I drove my rattling car to our house. Tristan wasn't there. I let myself in. The house smelled like him, like cedar and coffee. I broke down crying in the foyer. Then, I got to work. I cleaned everything. I scrubbed the floors until my knees bruised. I organized the pantry. I cooked his favorite meal, lasagna, and left it in the fridge with heating instructions written on a sticky note with a heart. But my masterpiece was the timeline. I sat at the kitchen table for 4 hours and wrote a 20-page document. The timeline of innocence. I documented every text, every lunch, every meeting with Randy. I highlighted the dates and times. 12 p.m., lunch at Olive Garden. Public place. No touching. 8 p.m., text message about work. No flirting. 11 a.m., hotel arrival. Sitting in car. Just talking. My goal was to prove, legally and logically, that we didn't have sex. I truly believed that if I could prove we didn't go all the way, Tristan would see that I hadn't fully broken my vows. I thought the technicality would save me. I left the timeline on the table next to the lasagna. Sunday came and went. I heard nothing. Monday morning, I got a notification on my phone. Your lock code has been disabled. Tristan had found the food. He had found the timeline. He threw the lasagna in the trash. I saw the container in the bin outside on Google Street View weeks later when I stalked the house. He shredded the timeline without looking at a single page. He sent me a single text. Stop trespassing. Next time I call the police. The house is being listed today. The office confrontation and Randy's end. Then came the final blow on Tuesday. Work found out. Tristan didn't tell them, he was too dignified for that. But Randy's wife, Maria, wasn't. Maria came to our office at 10 a.m. The office was quiet. I was sitting at my desk, trying to pretend everything was normal. The elevator doors opened, and Maria stepped out. She is a small woman, usually quiet, but that day she looked 10 feet tall. She wasn't screaming. She wasn't crying. She was vibrating with a cold, terrifying rage. She walked straight to my desk. The click of her heels on the linoleum sounded like gunshots. She stood over me, trembling. You knew, she said, her voice shaking but loud enough for the whole floor to hear. You met me at the Christmas party, Lara. You held my daughter. You told me how cute she was. I couldn't speak. I looked down at my hands. Look at me, she screamed. I looked up. She slapped me. It wasn't a movie slap. It was a heavy, violent blow that connected with the side of my head. I fell out of my chair. I hit the floor hard, my cheek throbbing, my ear ringing. The sound echoed through the entire open-plan office. Everyone froze. The typing stopped. The phone stopped ringing. You are trash, Maria said, standing over me while I clutched my face. You ruined my family for an ego boost. You knew he was married. You didn't care. I looked up from the carpet. Randy was standing in the corner by the water cooler. He was watching. He didn't step in. He didn't defend me. He looked away, studying his shoes, protecting himself. The alpha male was a coward. Then I saw Tristan. He had come to the office to drop off my remaining boxes of clothes to security. He was standing by the elevators. He had seen everything. He saw Maria slap me. He saw me fall to the ground. He saw the humiliation. He didn't move. He didn't flinch. He just watched, his face a mask of stone. He looked at me not with anger, but with indifference. Like I was a stranger he saw on the news getting arrested. He set the box down on the security desk, pressed the down button, and the elevator doors closed on him. I was fired that afternoon. Code of conduct violation, HR said. Randy was fired too. But his punishment didn't stop there. As I was packing my box, shaking and crying, I saw Randy in the lobby. He was on the phone, screaming. "Maria, please. Don't do this. You can't just lock me out." He looked at me as I walked by. His eyes were wild, desperate. "She changed the locks," he spat at me, blaming me for his own choices. "She filed for emergency custody. She took the kids, Lara. She took the bank accounts. I have nothing." He looked pathetic. The expensive suit looked cheap now. The arrogance was gone. "Fix this," he yelled at me. "Tell her it was your idea." I just kept walking. "I can't fix anything, Randy," I whispered. "I can't even fix myself. Now, I am unemployed. Divorced. Living in my childhood bedroom at 29. I spent months fantasizing about a life with Randy. I thought we were star-crossed lovers. I realized too late that I wasn't running toward a better life. I was running off a cliff. And the only person who would have caught me, the only person who ever truly loved me, was the man I pushed away in a parking lot. #the parking lot confession.